Testing. Oh, there I am.
Wow, that's
I'm
quite
really loud. Hello. I mean, we don't have any boxes, so we don't actually adjust ourselves. Unless you want me to talk less quietly, but I don't think that I can do that.
Adam says our audio is hot. So, where I can't hear you when you're doing that.
Yeah, it's
can,
not gonna be in your phone.
I know. Can you like walk over there real quick and just try talking in the mic? I just want to see what I can hear or not while I have that. Okay.
Do you think this will help?
I assume so. Yep, thank you. Okay, are they going to play the six-pack thing?
Less than a week after battling to the final buzzer, two resurgent West Division programs are stepping back into the ring for round two. The Oakland Spiders are 3-0 for the first time since 2015, the year of the franchise's last league title. And Seattle, looking to defend the West Division crown it won in stunning fashion in Salt Lake, is hungry to land some haymakers on Oakland's home turf. It's the Spiders against the Cascades, and it's coming up next.
Well, it's a beautiful night here in Oakland, and we've got one heck of a rematch on our hands. The defending West Division champs from Seattle have made their way down to the Bay to battle the Oakland Spiders, who are off to their best start in a decade, the year of the franchise's last championship. Welcome to Friday Night Frisbee, presented by Pabst Light. Ian Toner, lucky to be here with Katie Killebrew. Katie, last Saturday, Oakland led Seattle by as many as 5 goals on the Cascades turf. But in the fourth quarter, Seattle clawed back to tie the game at 21, only to surrender the game winner to Oakland with under 10 seconds remaining. What are you expecting here tonight?
More fireworks. This matchup is one of the reasons I absolutely love this league. And in the West Division, these two teams are getting to know each other really well. And this rematch exactly a week later, perfection.
A big part of that Seattle comeback was thanks to the efforts of Zeppelin Ronig, now in his 4th season as a pro. He scored a career-high 10 goals against Oakland on Saturday. He's going to be a problem for the Oakland defense.
And you could see why he just has a nose for the end zone. Coach Kelly Johnson was talking about how he's really worked on elevating his game and expanding his ability with the disc and the underneath. And now that he's a threat in both directions, he just finds a way to sneak into that space against really seasoned defenders.
And on On the other side of the field, a big piece of Oakland's hot start has been Walker Frankenberg and his dynamic attack on the Spiders' offense.
Less than a week after battling to the final
Walker
buzzer,
Frankenberg,
two resurgent West Division programs are stepping back into the ring for round.
How impactful he had been. He was all over the field, all over the stats board, and is a player that is really dynamic in that space, and he's making his teammates on the O-line look good by putting the disc in really advantageous places.
Frankenberg leading the league in assists, plus minus, receiving yards, and total yards through 3 games. He should be a handful for Lucas Ambrose and the Cascades defense to deal with. It's a massive opportunity for both of these teams to make a statement in the realigned West Division and earn a crucial win in their pursuit of a second consecutive playoff berth. The Spiders and the Cascades set to square off here in Oakland. The opening pull for Friday Night Frisbee coming right up.
Captains will meet with the officials at center field. Flip the disc and determine possession to start the game. Which leads into our next stage fans. I want to get to know y'all a little bit. So my name is Jackson Stearns. I'm going to be your PA announcer for today's game. I'm a combination of a little bit of play-by-play and hopefully a lot of hype. I will be honest right up front. I am biased. I'm heavily biased towards one of our teams playing today. If you're here to root for the Cascades, that's fantastic. Cheer loud, cheer long. Just know I'm also going to be cheering for the Spiders, and I hope that y'all will join in with me. Throughout the game, if you have questions for me about the rules, about the UFA, or Frisbee in general, please let me know. Now let me know, we're going to switch it up a little bit for today's game. Make some noise if you have been to a Spiders game before. There it is. All right, so if you're sitting by somebody who just cheered, and this is your first time at a Spiders game, as we always say, we're about community here, so please, if you've got questions about the players, the game, and you feel comfortable asking that person next to you, ask away. If you've been here before, you know the deal, right? We're going to get loud, we're going to have a good time, and please, we hope that you can be an ambassador for our team and for our sport, and connect with the people around you so that we get them to keep coming back. In terms of what's at stake in today's game, I'm super excited for this one. So kind of a unique scheduling quirk this year. There's been a bit of a divisional realignment. So the UFA, Ultimate Frisbee Association, has 24 teams across North America. We're now in 4 divisions of 6 teams each. And so we play in the West Division. Far north is Seattle and Oregon. We've got Oakland, we've got Colorado, Salt Lake, and new this year, the Las Vegas Bighorns. You typically play a 12-game regular season, and then the top 3 teams in each division will make the playoffs. Last year, Seattle won the West Division. Good for them. Shout out to them for that. Oakland made the playoffs. We lost to Seattle in the first round of the playoffs. And so this year, the kind of unique scheduling for is that the Spiders and Seattle are going to play each other 3 times this season. For those diehard fans, you probably saw results. Oakland was on the road last weekend. We had a doubleheader in Seattle and Oregon. So we were playing a team up there. We ran out at the end. It was a 1-game victory for Oakland. And so because we're playing Seattle every time, it's really going to come down to which team can win this series. It's probably going to have pole position for a playoff spot. So it's a really good game for both these teams today. Oakland comes in with an undefeated 3-0 record. Seattle just began their season last week, so they're 0-1 right now. But again, really it's still very open. So we're super excited with this game. We're going to be playing a 4-quarter game today. 4 quarters. Where the game, score more points than the other team. You score a point by touching the disc or pushing the opposing team's end zone with football. At the end of 4 quarters, if you have a tie game, we'll do a 5-minute overtime. We get tied at the end of overtime. In the meantime, we are playing a regular game of Ultimate. It is 7-on-7. We're on this football field, obviously. As I said, you got to catch the end zone to score a point. But the end zones are slightly larger than a traditional American football field. So going to the typical goal line, they're going to be 10 yards out. That's why they see the foul line is 10 yards out. So we're going to see it starting to cheer, get excited. If you tie up the 5, and then you go right.
Welcome back to Fremont High School here in Oakland. The fans still filing and making their way into the friendly, windy confines in the Bay Area. And the Oakland Spiders in the black jerseys set to pull here and start this game on defense. There's Eli Kearns with the disc in his hand, getting set to pull for Oakland. Kearns, of course, a previous champ with this Spiders franchise back in 2014, also competed with the San Francisco Flamethrowers from 2015 to 2018 and won a title with them in 2017. But he's a key part of this veteran apparatus that's coming back into the Spiders fold and mixing with a lot of great Bay Area youth talent that is leading to this Spiders resurgence, this group chasing a playoff berth for the second season in a row.
It's really exciting to see the venerated players really leaning on the youth. The youth on both of these teams is so exciting to see. We've seen some of these players really playing and making an impact. You can see with the Red Sox there, Seamus Robinson, who was recently in college nationals. And that is the opening pull.
Tonight's opening pull presented by Pabst Light, and here's the Cascades offense in white, attacking from left to right across your screen. They're going in the largely downwind direction here at the gusty, blustery Fremont High School field. Here's a deep shot, looking for Zeppelin Ronning right away, bodying out his defender. It was in the game plan to stand behind him, and he cannot be stopped on the opening point of the game. After 10 goals last weekend, he opens the scoring here tonight.
That was clean from Seattle. They had a game plan. I think Oakland even knew what that game plan was, and Zeppelin Ronning just ran away with it. You can see in that replay, just excited about the score. It's amazing that you can know what the other team is going to do, but you have to actually stop that player from doing it. And Oakland didn't stop that downwind huck from Seattle.
Yeah, we talked to Coach Caleb Merriam earlier in the week, and he admitted, hey, we didn't really realize until the end of the game when we'd had a chance to digest the stats and everything that Zeppelin Ronning had scored 10 goals against us. And it was obviously a point of emphasis in the game plan and the adjustments coming into this week's matchup to make sure that we don't let Ronning get comfortable in the deep space. They like the idea of forcing him under and making him a thrower. But now, let's take a look at the Spiders' offense out there on the field. Evan Magsig getting the disc started and moved over to the rookie, Leo Gordon. Here's Jason Valley fighting through a rib injury, swings it back to Gordon. Magsig in the inside lane. Looking deep. He's got Valley taken off, and Jason Valley has steps on Jack Brown. A clean hold for the Spiders on home turf.
This is actually very reminiscent of the game that they just played a week ago in Seattle. Both teams came out and were clean in the beginning of that game. Valley is a player who's so exciting to watch because he is dynamic in the way that he is around the disc and is suddenly in that handler, like goes from the handler space into the cutter space. He's always putting himself in advantageous positions, and I love seeing the way that Oakland's O-line in particular is really utilizing players as what I would call hybrids in both of those spaces as the D-line gets back on the field. So far, all the scores have been in that downwind direction.
Tony Goss centering up to Christian Foster. Lots of respect being given there to Ronning. Gets the easy under. Stall count rising. Goss in power position.
Everybody else downfield is taking away the other half.
There's Garrett Martin. Gainer to Gavin Leahy, looking down the line for Ronning. That's 2 for the big man.
Yeah, he put up 10 last week, which is a big number.
This is one of the reasons why Ronig is so hard to stop. It's because he continues to work in the time when he doesn't have the disc to really fight for those angles. You said it yourself, Ian. He was given the under and took it. Once he dished the disc, he then went upline and got that separation after his defender had to stop to put on a mark, and he didn't give those yards back.
Zeppelin Ronig led the Cascades. 51 goals and over 3,600 receiving yards last season, and you can tell, as Kelly Johnson said, he's just got such a high bar for himself, and he's continued to round out his game. Here's Magzig. Gets the disc over to Matt Crawford. Back to Magzig. In this week's Tuesday toss, Walker Frankenberg told Evan Lepler that this Spiders offense this season doesn't have to rely on Magzig to pull unbelievable throws out of his bag all the time. They've got a system and a structure that they trust a lot more, and you can see just how comfortable Magzig looks swinging the disc to his teammates with the likes of Adam Reese and Jason Valley and Leo Gordon and Walker Frankenberg out there. Deep shot. Looking for Gordon. He's got it. On the goal line. Valley's in the space. The flip to Frankenberg, and he takes the shoulder through the contact. Frankenberg a little frustrated by that contact, but it looks like the Seattle defender got the worst end of that interaction as Frankenberg caught the pass in the air and hopped into the end zone.
That was a bit of a weird one. It seemed as though maybe a pick created that, as we can see the players a little bit shaken up after that contact in the end zone. But one of the things I was really impressed with from the Oakland side was their ability to morph their shape, right? They had a pull play that is in that wider horizontal stack space, and then once they get moving, they break down into a vertical stack, and they are really able to execute towards the end zone.
So that's Mark Munoz getting some extra attention over on the sideline. Meanwhile, his teammates receiving and working on offense here, going downwind again. Garrett Martin, 5 assists last week. Big gainer there to Ronig. Martin in power position, looking crossfield, throwing over the defense. Tommy Lee is in acres of space. 5 points, no turns, all holds so far, Katie.
This is how the other game started out. It was clean. It's actually beautiful Frisbee to watch as these teams' offenses are just slicing through. That was a counter flow throw. All of the momentum had been towards this near sideline, and then Martin does a good job to switch it up. Instead of looking to the same side, looks across the field to the other angle, and Lee does such a good job of putting himself in a position where there's no one between him and the end zone, and in that downwind direction, that disc floated perfectly. Sometimes we can see a little bit of swirliness affecting this field, but that disc had so much spin on it that it sat perfectly.
Crawford centers to Magzig for this Spiders offense. Again, Oakland off to its best start since 2015. The last time that this program captured a UFA title. There's a gainer to Adam Reese. Frankenberg is next. Off the line to Valley. Looking deep. Floats over the defender. Reese is in the end zone. Looked for a second like the Seattle defender might have a chance to make a play on it, but expert reading of the wind conditions, hucking downwind there.
You know, it's interesting. Jason Valley did the exact opposite thing that I was just commenting on for Garrett Martin. He got the disc on the sideline, and then instead of changing the field, looked like he was going to change the field, and then went back to the same side, catching his mark and the upfield defender looking, I guess, into anticipating that motion to the other side. It's one of the things that I really like about Jason Valley's game is he never does the same thing twice, and he never does what you expect.
That's hard to do, folks. Oakland has just pulled the disc out the back in the upwind direction here at Fremont High School, and it's going to be some free yardage for the German star Aaron Wolf and the Seattle Cascades offense. Wolf, a first-team all-rookie selection last year, and 5 assists, a goal, and a block in the losing effort against the Spiders last weekend. Lee with the snag downfield. Garrett Martin's the next under. Wolf swinging off the line, disc popping up. No problem for Murat. Big swing over to Zeppelin Ronig. He's in the end zone. That's goal number 3 for the 2022 All-Star. I mean, at this rate, he's going to eclipse 10 goals tonight.
You know, Ian, we were talking before this game, setting a line, given that he scored 10 goals in the previous game, how many did we think that he would get there? And at 3 already in the first corner, I think the line that you and I set was a little bit low.
Yeah, I was thinking I was playing it safe with something like 3.5 or 4.5, thinking this Oakland defense would do a better job adjusting, but so far, Ronig still taking advantage in the deep space and the underneath space as well. Here's Lucas Ambrose, the reigning Defensive Player of the Year, on the pull for the Cascades. Had a pretty subpar game by his standards last week in Seattle. No scoring stats and a couple turnovers. And he's definitely focused on having a bigger impact for his defense tonight as Crawford swings the disc to Magzig for the Oakland offense. There's Frankenberg. Looks like this Seattle defense that started with a little bit of a junk look has fallen into man-to-man matchup look. Dom Jacobs on the mark. Throw down the line, that's so tough to break. And Matt Crawford is in the end zone. Add another assist to Walker Frankenberg's tally.
Still a really clean game, and I will have to say that one of the things that you were saying in the course of that point is that Seattle was in a junk look and transitioned to person, and they did that a lot last week, but I think that they didn't pick up tight enough. Their defense was a little bit lax on those players. They were giving maybe a little bit too much of a buffer, but in that case, they did seem to tighten up, and we're going to see in this game if they can do that transition a little bit better, because they are stopping the pull play from Oakland, but then they're not getting tight enough pressure defense in order to really put pressure on the handlers and make them do something difficult.
Yeah. Kelly Johnson, an all-world defender in her own right, said, "It looked to me like my guys were playing scared." And that's not something you ever want to see as a coach. As a deep shot goes up to Martin, and Seamus Robinson looks at it at the last second. He got a fingertip on it. Martin caught it and then threw an interception, and Martin inches away from the Callahan.
And
a roller coaster of emotions here in a matter of seconds in Oakland. Robinson looking upwind. And there's the third turnover of the point. I beg your pardon, the second turnover of the point.
And only the second turnover of the game, both of them coming in this point entirely clean up until this point, as an injury is going to stop play as players go in and out.
So after the injury substitution, Derek Murad picks up. 3 yards for Ronig. Separation for both Tommy Lee and Garrett Martin. They're legging it out, and Garrett Martin atones for his turnover and converts the hold for Seattle.
And Ronig was the player who had thrown that. We've seen him in the end zone, but proving why he is a dynamic player to watch with that throw. He had 2 receivers in the area, and Lee and Martin did a really good job about communicating. I think Lee was eventually going to be the backup, but Martin really went up for that before a defensive player had it. But that defensive pressure from Seamus Robinson from Oakland, where it was bobbled and back and forth, I think that actual defensive pressure was what caused the throwaway from Martin, and then almost gave it back and then turned it over himself. So that was maybe not quite the plus minus that Seamus Robinson wanted, but he had a quiet game the last time these 2 teams met, and he is a player who can be an absolute spark plug. So I would like to see a little bit more from him as we get Oakland underway with their O-line.
Yeah, after playing with the Aviators in 22 and 23, didn't play in the UFA in 24, but he's out there for Oakland in 25, and there is a beautiful, beautiful shot from Leo Gordon to Jason Valley. And that connection's heating up here as well. No turns for the Oakland Spiders O-line yet.
That was so clinical. I almost feel like I didn't get a chance to even get into that point. The Oakland Spiders are flowing down the field. Valley there with the hand raised and the score. 1 turnover apiece per teams, and there's been 1 break opportunity for Oakland and none for Seattle yet.
Of course, important to mention that this Seattle Cascades O-line is missing Connor Belfield, who had 3 assists, 2 goals, a block, and 4 hockey assists last week in his UFA debut, and Spencer Lofink, the 2024 most improved second runner-up selection. He was second on the Cascades in scores, assists, yards, and 0 points played back in 2024. A huge ingredient in that team's success and return to championship weekend. Christian Foster finds Ronig in plenty of space. Ronig gets it back again. He can just do whatever he wants out there, Katie.
Yeah, bear him in there on the Ronig assignment at the moment, and it's really hard to stop him in both directions.
Wolf up the line, Murad all alone. We've seen Derek Murad go to that celebration once or twice before.
Looking at it again, it's really clinical offense that we're seeing from Seattle. They're moving the disc quickly, they're changing the point of attack, and then dishing the disc and going upfield. And that, you can see the angle on that disc. There's just no margin for error in that space when you're that close to the sideline, and they're making it look easy.
So thanks for joining us here for Friday Night Frisbee, presented by Pabst Light. This West Division battle between Seattle and Oakland. Seems like we've got playoff implications already in week 3 of the regular season. These are 2 resurgent programs who faced off in the opening round of the playoffs last year. Of course, Seattle eliminating Oakland in Seattle at Memorial Stadium last July, and so far this season, Oakland fired the opening salvo with a victory in Memorial Stadium last weekend, and there's the first turnover of the game for the Spiders O-line. Frankenberg, a little too much juice on that deep shot for Leo Gordon.
Well, there were 2 bidding defenders from the Cascades, and I think that is the most pressure I've seen Seattle be able to put on this O-line, and it yields a turn finally.
Great to see Mark Munoz back out there after experiencing discomfort earlier in this first quarter after contact with Frankenberg. And the Cascades offense looking to march upwind as Kelly Johnson and her staff call timeout, sensing the importance of this opportunity took their D-line 11-plus points to get their first crack at a break opportunity.
This game came down to 1 point. There was a large margin, but Kelly Johnson is a coach who really takes these opportunities, having been a D-line stalwart herself, and is looking like it's going to sub on the entire O-line. I think that in this game, that may be almost a higher risk scenario if they turn it over, because then they're gonna get more miles on their legs. So it's really important for this O-line to work upwind, although at the moment it looks slightly less gusty than it was right at the first pull.
So we see Seattle electing to put basically its entire O-line out there. Christian Foster picking up, Aaron Wolf at the front of the stack, Tony Goss out there too, with Garrett Martin, Derek Murad, Tommy Lee, and Zeppelin Ronig at the back of the stack. Oakland substituting and putting defensive specialists on as well. Stall count rising here for Foster, and Murad makes the grab, keeping possession alive, and there's a turnover looking for Foster in a congested space at the front of the stack. A short field here for Sawyer Thompson and company. Grab made there by Ridhaller. Swing off the line to Thompson. Reset to Ridhaller. Shot to the end zone, and that's knocked away by Garrett Martin. He knew where that throw was going before it was released.
And just to remind everyone, because it is the O-line, this would be a break for Seattle.
Let's see what Christian Foster can do. Looking inside, finds Goss. Big fake, double team gets set, and Goss expertly gets that disc off the line quickly. Swing out to Ronig, the release valve. Robinson covering Martin so well in the reset space. I beg your pardon, downfield, and then that forces the turnover in the reset space. Here's Eli Kearns. All kinds of time, the throw to the far corner. Oakland converts the dirty hold with its D-line out there after a timeout.
Kearns so smooth with this, almost looking nonchalant, and this angle is almost upwind. There's a swirling stadium that comes into that back end zone, and the players are fired up with that score.
So just when we thought Seattle might strike first with the opening break, Oakland gets the disc back multiple times.
And now we're seeing actually Lucas Ambrose on the field for Seattle on O, because their O-line just played D, so this is a hybrid O-line, the first time those players haven't been going downwind.
And Munoz crossing over as well, working against the double team, staying physical and fighting through the aggressive marks. Munoz with a great grab on the sideline there. Stall count rising. This is almost an entire D-line for Seattle as Garrett Martin gets it up to Mark Munoz. Couple of dicey situations against the double teams and low throws up the line, but Seattle fighting through the physicality and the conditions, and they get the hold.
It feels like Seattle only used the 6 inches next to the sideline. The entire 50 yards on the other side, they were like, no, we don't need that. Just this little bit. And credit to Oakland, because they're trying other things. We haven't seen that really intentional double team on the sideline this game. That's also to say that the O-line hasn't ever really been trapped on this sideline, so maybe they've been trying to do it and the disc just hasn't gone there. But all in all, it's a clean hold for Seattle. They just now are going to have to see if they can make an impact and get more break chances.
Spiders offense back out there, but a whistle before the first throw from Magsig to Reese.
It's like a defensive penalty of some kind.
I'm seeing that pushing motion, so maybe a foul upfield is going to move the disc.
So Magsig walks the disc forward 10 yards. Frankenberg adjusts, marked by Mikey O'Brien. And, oh man, Louis Bertonson so close to a block there, but Frankenberg saves possession.
But loses the hat.
Valley playing catch with Magsig. There's Adam Reese, and another bit of contact there. Shot to the end zone. It is caught on the goal line. Reset to Gordon. And Magsig goes up the line. Oakland ties us up at 7.
The risks that the Seattle D-line took on this point is much higher than I've seen them do at any point yet. They're really leaving players and trying to make plays. That one was so close for Bertonson, but a score for Magsig and the Oakland Spiders. Very clean first quarter here, but there's only 32 seconds left on the clock, so we've seen clock management come back to bite these teams, especially Seattle. They have it on offense here.
And you can see the Spiders loading up with some of their taller defenders like Robinson and Berriman and Thompson, and trying to pin Seattle on the sideline to start once again. No double team here though. Foster finds Goss. Tommy Lee's next. Hammer. Great work to get that disc off the sideline. Here's Wolf. 20 seconds left. Murat. Ronig bodying out. 10 seconds left, and we've got a foul call. Clock stops with 10 seconds.
And again, I believe that was upfield, not on the mark.
Ronig. The throw over traffic, and it's caught by Aaron Wolf. Some conversation ensuing on the goal line between Garrett Martin and I believe that's Sawyer Thompson. But that conversation will be moot as Seattle gets the hold, and now 8 seconds for Oakland to try and tie this game up before the end of the quarter.
Seattle started this game on offense, so forgive me if I'm wrong, but if Oakland can score here, that does give them a bit of the skinny break, does it not?
I'm with you. And for our newer fans, explain the skinny break concept.
Because every quarter you start on O and D alternately, and you change end zones. If Oakland can end up tied at the end of this break, they should be down 1 point if everything stays on serve. So it's almost like a half break or a mini break as we see them start on offense now.
So Ronig out there on defense with Jack Brown. Eli Kearns unleashing the shot to the end zone. Is this even going to stay in play? No, it sails out the back. And Seattle on serve, surrendering no breaks with an 8-7 lead here at the end of one quarter on Friday Night Frisbee, presented by Pabst Light.
A really exciting quarter of action. There's got to be more to come.
Thanks for joining us here. One quarter down, 3 to go, live from Fremont High. More Friday Night Frisbee on the other side of the break.
On the green, huge bid, gets Throw like a pro with a new Pro Ultimate Frisbee. Created with input from the sport's premier passers, the Pro Frisbee is specially designed to fly through the wind and maintain its edge. Experience the official Frisbee of the UFA and get yours at shopufa.com today.
So Zeppelin Ronig with 4 goals and 2 assists, and Garrett Martin with 3 assists and 1 goal, powering the Seattle Cascades to an 8-7 lead as we start the second quarter of Friday Night Frisbee. The Cascades defense defending well in an end-of-quarter situation, and Oakland looking to hold downwind in a game where we have yet to see a single break, Katie.
We've had a couple of turns, but really nothing more. As you can see, the sun is starting to set, and Seattle defenders are staring directly into it.
4 turnovers for the Spiders, 2 turnovers for the Cascades, and the Cascades still perfect on Hucks as well, as Crawford finds Gordon for the Spiders offense. Valley up to Gordon. Here's Reese in the red zone. Frankenberg doesn't get the next one. Strike that from the record. He does. Made the cut to the cone. It didn't go up at first, but Reese just taking that extra second, and Frankenberg scoring his second goal of tonight's contest.
That was so smart from Frankenberg. He cuts up line, the defense was covering him very tightly, and he looks like he's going to clear out of that space, and when the defender leaves him, turns around, has eyes on the disc, and is available for that throw. That kind of heads-up play is one of the things that I would love my college players to look at, is that just extends the options that the offense has. The defense can't look away from that space. You can't let them, get a free poach or a free inch of giving up the coverage.
Frankenberg, the Pabst Light Player of the Week in last week's competition, and a stiff test ahead here for the Cascades offense, working deep in its own end zone. Here's Foster, marked by Rithaler. Of course, this Spiders defense, without the talents of Robin Vickers-Batzdorf, dealing with a heel injury, who has been such an aggressive and effective defender, taking on the likes of Jack Williams and Krista Foster earlier in the season, but not healthy enough to go tonight. Here's a deep shot for Tommy Lee, and there's the first Huck turnover of the game for the Cascades, coming off the hand of Aaron Wolf.
Tommy Lee made such a good cut. He faked and changed direction and got separation, and then the downwind excitement just got Aaron Wolf, and he overcooks that one in the end zone.
Full field to go for Rithaler and the Spiders D-line offense. Here's Seamus Robinson. Tolfa slides to the turf to save that one. There's Sawyer Thompson, uncorking the backhand, looking for Rithaler. Goss defending, and Rithaler brings it in. 5 yards outside the end zone, looking for a reset. He's got Kearns. Kearns with the outside-in shot, and it's caught in the end zone. Oakland has its first lead of the night, scoring the first break on Friday Night Frisbee.
What a dagger from Kearns. I don't know if the receiver even saw it coming. I think that was Nick Tolfa with the grab.
You're right.
Seeing that spinning around, again, heads up in that space, but that grab from Rithaler under the defensive pressure, reading it in the wind and bodying safely with the other player, that is a highlight for me because it takes such grit to play tight defense, laying out on the other side of the field, and then going the other direction, really making use of that break opportunity. Now with the wind, they're going downwind. If they can cement this, the downwind break, which is almost more important, that will make it much more difficult for Seattle.
Second goal of Nick Tolfa's pro career. And now the Cascades O-line is going to have to prove that it can work upwind. And Kelly Johnson and the coaching staff have elected to put a D-line heavy personnel unit out there, as Garrett Martin appears to be the only person, along with Aaron Wolf, staying out there after the O-line got broken. Here's Martin. Off the line to Wolf, and Munoz at the fulcrum. A lot of space for Mikey O'Brien. Pops it out to Wolf. Munoz on that sideline, and foul called with some physicality on the mark there from Maxig. Interesting to see him out there playing defense, and Aaron Wolf just catches his defender sleeping. Burns Lincoln Grench up the line, and there is an important hold and response from Seattle, who now gets to put the pressure on the Spiders offense and make that group prove that it can work the disc upwind.
And into the sunlight. I think it's a double difficulty in this, that the sun isn't going to last forever. As you can see those long shadows in that play, but really great poise and punch back from the Seattle side.
Lucas Ambrose staying out there for this Cascades D-line. Doing a good job calibrating this pull and making sure it doesn't sail out the back. Still looking for one of his signature highlight plays as he takes the Frankenberg matchup. Here's a deep shot. Acres of space for Saul Wildowski. He's on the goal line. And there's the floater caught by Reese. And the Spiders O-line responds just as confidently, perhaps more confidently, than Seattle's did on the previous point.
It's worth mentioning also that these teams play in this wind all the time. In both of their home stadiums, wind is a factor, and so they are probably less affected by it than those of us who are talking about it. But
Are you saying you couldn't step out on that field and throw a 50-yard upwind flick right now?
I am telling you from experience, having played on this field with LA Astra against the Falcons, that I could not, in the big gust, put an upwind throw that far.
Fair enough. The Seattle offense working to get the disc off the line there as Oakland intentionally rolls the pull out of bounds, and then miscommunication there between Foster and Martin gives Oakland a short field. Kearns on the doorstep. Foster finally closes in for the mark, but it's too late because Oakland has scored its second break of the game to get its biggest lead of the night.
And both of those scores have come from Eli Kearns. He's one of the veterans on this team, but he is playing on this D-line, and you can see why he made such an impact. He's so unaffected as he throws that in pressure, high stall count, and Tolfa, again, getting that score.
Yeah,
that connection is working for Oakland today.
I was going to say the second break connection of the quarter and the game between Kearns and Tolfa for the Spiders. And Aiden Curry on the team, on the pole for Oakland. Goodness, that almost came in at that back corner, but floating just out the back of the end zone. Free yards for Seattle to start this offensive possession.
Man, that 40-yard swing is brutal.
Foster. This one's hanging. Catches another tuft of wind, and it's caught by Wolf. Seattle getting back to its deep game and grittying their way off the field.
That is Christian Foster doing what Christian Foster does best, which is throwing players open from a standstill. There are so few throwers who can throw without momentum and put it in pinpoint accurate spots. And I think that this is one of those places where you see Vickers-Batzdorf, who's not dressed for Oakland tonight, who was taking the Christian Foster matchup in their previous game, not letting him throw those. You can't just assume that he's not going to huck it from a standstill. Most players don't, but Christian Foster will.
Also credit to the Oakland defense, clearly making some adjustments just a few minutes into the second quarter here, but after Zeppelin Ronig involved in 6 scores and Garrett Martin involved in 4 in the opening quarter, neither player notching a goal or assist here in the second quarter as the Spiders hammer off the line and get themselves out of the double team. Here's Gordon up to Frankenberg. Valley, the former Aviator and Chicago Union. Out there for Oakland. Frankenberg pumping. Matt Crawford going through his looks. Magsig over to Frankenberg, and Reese with the finish.
One of the things that I'm seeing this Oakland team do that's kind of unusual is they almost have 2 players in the reset. There's one slightly upfield and one further back, and it's really making the mark guess where that reset is, and the defenders aren't covering both of them equally, so one of those 2 resets around resets is open, and then Oakland is so good at moving the disc to the other side of the field in order to get that space. They're making it look easy, but that full team positioning in order to create space in the end zone and to put themselves in a slightly different position than, you know, typical Frisbee is making it really difficult for these Seattle defenders.
Coming into tonight's contest, Adam Reese leading the league with 11 goals, and he's just padding those stats so far here tonight as Foster looking for Ambrose, misses him on an overthrow, and Kearns will quarterback the break opportunity once again for Oakland. Inside reset, and that disc was caught. And Oakland immediately calls a timeout, sensing the importance of this break opportunity.
That was one of the crazier catches I've seen. He bobbled it and then almost corkscrewed around it in order to get that preservation. I was going to say, one of the things I really appreciated about Caleb Merriam is that he has, in those break opportunities, really given the D-line a chance to cook. They are the players who's going that with Kearns on the disc there, and now in this first timeout that they've taken in this break chance, it looks like the O-line is actually going to be subbed on. So really giving the D-line a chance to earn their breaks, and then when it's a little bit more difficult, they've played a lot of minutes in this second quarter. Now the O-line is going to get to go to work.
So the The disc is going to go back to the point on the field where Eli Kearns had it because the timeout was called before he released the disc. And Evic Magsig will bring the disc back in play, marked by Tommy Lynn.
All right, so Oakland's in after the timeout. Their first of the half.
Risky throw into the middle there, but Wildowski catches and resets to Crawford. Frankenberg next. Crawford.
Oh, great cut there from Maxig.
Over to Magsig.
Teammate to Cal. I think they were there at the same time. Close to it.
Crawford over to Reese. Valley.
Offense being nice and patient in this red zone.
Stepping around, finding Gordon.
Walker's trying to steal out Ambrose.
Magsig.
Back to Gordon. Gordon and Reese bouncing
Gordon finds Reese. An unbelievable pairing of rookies out on the field there for Oakland. Leo Gordon having won a college title with Brown last season, and Reese a few years removed from being a standout at Oregon. And there's Frankenberg finding Reese once again. That connection red hot in the red zone tonight.
Those two players are doing such a good job of continuing momentum. They are churning cuts for Oakland. Under, deep, really resetting, and you're seeing why the work rate of those two players is so effective for Oakland, because the defenders are trying to get a block, and when they try to overplay in one small moment, one under, one deep, one step in another direction, both Reese and Frankenberg are taking advantage of what the defense is giving them, because defense has to give something up, and they can't cover everywhere. And when you have players that are that dynamic, it's really hard to stop.
So Seattle started this quarter leading 8-7. Oakland has since gone on a 6-2 run, including 3 breaks, to mount its largest lead of the night. Here's Aaron Wolf getting things started for the Cascades offense, working upwind. Tommy Lee. Back to Goss. Here's Derek Murad. Inside to Lee. Bluffs the hammer. Soft inside to Murad. And Goss trying to reset. Foul called. It looked like that disc was knocked out of his hands by Aiden Curry before it had fully left Goss's fingertips. So the foul, giving Goss possession back. Martin to Wolf. Martin on the doorstep now. Ronig attacking the small space, reset to Wolf. Skinny inside to Murad. Oakland doing a good job keeping Martin and Ronig off the score sheet here in the second quarter.
That's one of the things that happens when you have teams that play each other like this, is that you, as a defensive line, really get to dial in the matchups. And right now, I think that the Oakland defenders, while they got scored on in that particular instance, are doing a better job of finding their matchups, because we haven't seen the contributions from Ronig, who just was all over the stat sheet in that first quarter. So really good adjustments from them. The same cannot quite be said for the Cascade defenders, as we're still seeing Frankenberg and Reese, Frankenberg and Reese, Frankenberg and Reese over and over again.
Yeah, that pair has combined for the last 2 Oakland scores. And Crawford fielding the pull here for the Spiders. Reese in space. Leo Gordon, the former Brown star, dishes and takes off. Here's Valley. Over to Magsig. Crawford. Bluffs. That communication getting Reese to change his cut at the front of the stack. Continuation from Gordon to Frankenberg. He almost flipped the pancake. But Frankenberg makes sure he holds on to that one. And Oakland with a 3-goal lead once again.
I wish players could go back and really look at the way that the variety of ways that the Oakland players just broke the mark. We saw the shoulder shimmy from Valley to go inside, and this around step out from Leo Gordon up for Frankenberg, who almost bobbles it but is very sure, clutching it to his body. But then there was also an inside backhand break. Those three together, they sliced and diced up that break side of the field, which was really good offense.
What can Seattle do to stop that?
Well, Seattle first has to hold.
Okay, we'll revisit that one as this game goes on. Here's Tommy Lee, trying it inside of his own, and that hits the turf. Short field for Eli Kearns once again. Dylan Burns out to space. And a timeout called by Caleb Merriam's staff. He really wants to make sure that the Spiders punch this one in. Another downwinder as Walker Frankenberg, Evan Magsig and company step back onto the field. You can see the frustration there from the Spiders D-line. Looking at coach, hey, come on, man. We hadn't turned it over yet.
I think that's such a difficult space to be in as the first year coach of a team, is where you really want to trust your defensive line. But knowing that this game, Oakland was ahead. Oakland was ahead by 5 in their previous game, and then let it get tied up in the fourth quarter, and let it come down. So it's these moments. It's getting a lead. It's really trying to break the spirit of the Seattle Cascades. And this end zone efficiency that this O-line has, I would trust them too.
It's a great point. Caleb Merriam, of course, no stranger to coaching, but his first season coaching in the UFA, his first season as a head coach at the pro level. Of course, he was a standout player at Cal Poly SLO and went on to be a part of Cody Mills' staff as an assistant with SLO, and doing a really nice job here with the Spiders so far this year. And he's also one to acknowledge how much the captains and other leaders on this team share the leadership responsibilities, as Valley puts Gordon on the doorstep and he flips a little push pass into the end zone.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about in terms of changing momentum. Normally when you have a player going to the cone like Gordon does, you'll see them step and throw a backhand, and you'll see where that's where the defender goes, but instead stops his momentum and throws this inside, and the defender almost overplays. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. It's another goal for Oakland.
Second assist in as many points for Leo Gordon, and that is the 4th break of the second quarter for this Spiders team, who has gone on an 8-3 rampage in the second quarter of Friday Night Frisbee. Here's Murat. Finds Garrett Martin. Goss is next. Curry contesting. Tommy Lee trying to get the disc off the line. Goes up the line to Murat. Bluffs the hammer. Negative reset to Wolf. Important throw off the line there to Tommy Lee. Tony Goss. What a pattern there from Goss. Gets the disc back from Lee. He's on the goal line. Murad is in the end zone. That's his second goal of the quarter, his third of the night. And Seattle trying to stem the tide as Oakland's really been pouring it on here in the second half.
So I'm just looking back as we have 48 seconds left in this quarter. Looking back, you know, we talked about 4 breaks, but Seattle has only given up 4 turns. The defensive line efficiency from this Oakland side in this quarter has been unparalleled.
It's the D-line offense, and it's Caleb Merriam using his timeouts to get his O-line out there and capitalize on those opportunities.
And it's so disheartening if you're an O-line and gets turned. You don't even get it. You have to earn a D back. And I think that's the biggest difference right now, as it looks like a penalty.
Yeah, apologies. We missed the infraction up here in the booth, but Seattle will get to pull from 5 yards shy of midfield, and Oakland will have to receive at the back of its own end zone. 48 seconds for the Spiders to try and add to their lead, and for the Cascades to try and cut in to Oakland's advantage.
Which they did. They're professionals.
Ambrose's pull landing just inside the goal line. Hammer looking over the zone, lands right in Frankenberg's breadbasket. He gets it back from Gordon.
So now Oakland in throw with 35 seconds here to go.
Reese
We'd love to punch in one
gets the
more.
disc back near midfield with 30 seconds left to go in the half. Maxig.
Let's help him out. 5, run!
Reese
5, run!
finds Valley.
5, run!
15 seconds left here in the quarter.
5, run!
Disc goes off Reese's hands. He couldn't tell where it was. Seattle's got a timeout left. The throw goes up right away. Jack Brown legging it out. Oh, he bids and he can't get there. There's 2 seconds left in the quarter. But Oakland out of timeouts and with a 3-goal lead in no hurry to get that disc back in play, as Jack Brown is still down on the turf, showing signs of discomfort after legging it out and diving full extension to try and grab that deep shot.
He gave absolutely everything to try to retain that possession and get a break back from Seattle. Their break opportunities have been so few and far between, but for me, the story of this game has been the D-line efficiency, the Dolphins, if you will, going the other direction, really making an impact against Seattle and then putting them on top in this first half.
And how about the clamps that the Spiders defense applied on Garrett Martin and Zeppelin Ronig there in the second quarter? No scores from either of those players after being involved in 4 and 6 scores respectively in the first quarter.
And
Katie, you called it out. Perfect D-line performance and perfect in the red zone. Oakland is just really separating itself tonight.
And it's a full team press. This is an entire team effort to try to shut down those Cascades players, and they're doing a really good job. But this game is not over. We've seen Seattle go down before. We've seen them come back from a bigger deficit. I am honestly electrified for what could happen in this second half.
1 half down, 1 half left to go here on Friday Night Frisbee, presented by Pabst Light. Thanks for joining us. We're going to step aside, pay some bills. We'll take a look at the Pabst Light 6-pack and let you know what to keep an eye on around the league and on WatchUFA.tv the rest of the weekend. Stick around, don't go anywhere. Plenty of action left to go here in Oakland on Friday night.
Are you kidding me? Goes up above everyone!
Halftime here in Oakland, and that means it's time for our Pabst Light six-pack, looking ahead to the most exciting stories around the UFA this weekend. Tomorrow night's game of the week features another chapter in the growing interdivisional rivalry between Carolina and DC. I'll tell you what, I'm really intrigued to see if and how this Breeze team can find its footing against a championship weekend caliber defense after its surprising 1-1 start. And it should be really exciting to see Jacob Fairfax take the field for the first time this season, a true game changer, and I really can't believe he has yet to win an MVP in this league. I'm also keeping my eye on the debuts of James Pollard and Justin Burnett for the defending champion Minnesota Wind Chill in their season opener against the AlleyCats tomorrow night. In the early stages of the offseason, it felt like the rich just kept getting richer when Minnesota added the former Philly and Atlanta standouts, and now, after months of speculation, we'll get to see exactly how coaches Ben Feldman and Max Longchamp deploy those stars and how they fit in with their new teammates. And how about those Hotbirds? While all of us were expecting Boston, New York, and DC to control the East, Philly was cooking up another citywide special to start its season with an historic upset in Breeze territory en route to a 2-0 weekend. And Saturday night, the Rush get a shot at revenge in Toronto, and the Phoenix get another opportunity to prove that they're serious contenders in that vaunted East Division. Elsewhere in the East, we've got the second iteration of the Tobe DeCrona Bowl, as his former Montreal teammates travel to Hormel Stadium once again. DeCrona and the Glory look dominant in their Week 1 victory over the Royale, but there's no doubt Kenton Bonneau and company will be hungry to avenge that loss and show DeCrona exactly what he's missing now that he's suiting up for another team in the East Division. And after a Week 1 shootout in Houston with 53 goals between the teams, the Havoc will travel to Austin hoping to once again earn their first win against a non-Dallas opponent. The Space City squad showed glimpses of brilliance in last Friday's bout against Madison before Lightning ended their comeback chances. If the Havoc can find a way to bring a consistent effort free of self-inflicted mistakes, I think they can challenge the Soul on their home turf. And in case you forgot about the divisional realignment that unfolded in the offseason, Atlanta's road trip is a perfect reminder that San Diego and Los Angeles are now part of the South Division. On paper, the Hustle should take care of the Growlers tonight and the Aviators tomorrow, but they'll have to prove that they're up to the challenge after that grueling cross-country travel. So that rounds out this week's Pabst Light six-pack. Of course, you can follow all of these storylines and more live with a WatchUFA.tv subscription. Second half action between the Spiders and Cascades coming up after the break.
On the green, huge bid, gets the touch.
A great opportunity for the Germans, and they break with ease.
Throw it the full 80 yards to the field. Are you kidding me? And an incredible catch. You are kidding me. Oh my God! Throw like a pro with a new Pro Ultimate Frisbee. Created with input from the sport's premier passers, the Pro Frisbee is specially designed to fly through the wind and maintain its edge. Experience the official Frisbee of the UFA and get yours at shopufa.com today.
The Frisbee Association is presented by Pabst Light, America's quality light beer. The UFA is also proud partners with Trulieve, dedicated to enhancing lives through cannabis. Two Town Cider House, high quality ingredients, no shortcuts, bringing hard cider back to the people. And Victory Insoles, engineered for peak performance, energy, and recovery. Beautiful night here in Oakland. Ian Toner and Katie Killebrew, lucky to be bringing you another edition of Friday Night Frisbee. And what a night it's been in the UFA already, Katie. Montreal pushing New York to the brink. If you don't have a WatchUFA.tv subscription, get one now and go and watch that one back, as no one expected the Royale to be that competitive against the perennial powerhouse from the East Division. Of course, New York prevailing 22-20. And elsewhere in the South, but also on the West Coast, Atlanta is making its West Coast swing, and they're facing off against the San Diego Growlers. That is unfolding live on WatchUFA.tv as well.
And I know that I am going to be rewatching that game because I have the pleasure of talking about Atlanta's trip to Los Angeles, which happens tomorrow.
So, yet another reason to subscribe to WatchUFA.tv if you haven't done so already.
Or you can download the mobile app.
That's a great idea too. The UFA app, presented by Pabst Light, now features live scores, advanced stats, and the latest news, plus access to all games with a WatchUFA.tv subscription. Download that now, and a quick check of the out-of-town scoreboard shows the Atlanta Hustle with an early 2-1 lead on the San Diego Growlers. That game that you're calling tomorrow night, the Hustle against the Aviators, opening poll going off just after 6 p.m. Pacific.
And it's a really important road trip for Atlanta because the entire south part of California is now in the South Division. So those kind of interdivisional change-ups is really going to, I think, one of the things that makes this season so exciting in the UFA, because we really have seen matchups that have never happened before, different road trips. These players don't know each other as well, and just like you saw with New York and Montreal, powerhouses are suddenly getting taken down. Point diff is going to matter. Every game throughout the season is really going to matter for these teams because not everyone has a schedule that has the same amount of interdivision or in-division and out-of-division teams. And we saw that really bite Colorado last year because they only had one interdivision matchup and they didn't make it to championship weekend.
Colorado Summit embarking on their own road trip this weekend. They'll be, I beg your pardon, that's next weekend. They're going to be heading to Texas and facing off against Austin and Houston. And Colorado, a team that is watching this game closely as they'll be facing off against both Seattle and Oakland later in the season. Oakland coming to Marv K Stadium in Golden on May 30th. That is 3 Fridays from now. That's going to be an incredible matchup. And the Seattle Cascades hosting the Colorado Summit on June 27th. But no one's thinking about those games yet because we still have another half of Friday Night Frisbee ahead of us as the Seattle Cascades O-line receives with the wind at its back. Foster clears out, and the centering pass goes to Murad. He gets it to Foster. Sifo pumps the deep shot, finds Ronnig underneath. Martin contested grab on the sideline. Seamus Robinson laying out, but coming up empty. Wolf looking down the line. It's too far for Murad. Murad had steps, but a high degree of difficulty on that same third shot. And a turnover on the opening O point for Seattle. We'll see how long a leash Caleb Merriam gives this D-line offense. At the start of the second half, we saw him unafraid to call timeouts after his D-line had gotten turns and get his O-line back out there to convert the break.
Just trying to throw body blows. The more throws, more that offensive line for Seattle has to run.
Here's an underneath for Max Williams. Kearns steps into the backhand, upwind. Off the hands of a bidding Aaron Rosenthal, and Seattle picks up and attacks right away, but Rosenthal is still in pain and has yet to step up off the turf.
And honestly, the ones you don't catch seem to hurt more than the ones that you do. What a throw from Kearns, and the bid, it was right there, in and out of the fingertips of the player there.
Aaron Rosenthal, a third-year Spider, giving it his all and leaving it all out on the field. Good to see him walking off under his own power. And so, because of the injury call, the disc goes back to where it was at the moment of injury. So Derek Murad will have the disc in his own end zone. Tony Goss pumps Garrett Martin, covered tightly there by Seamus Robinson. Ronig with a little separation underneath. Swings to Murad. Sifo unmarked for a second. There's Goss. Martin has steps. The throw goes up, but it's too low, and it's intercepted by Kearns. Third turn of the point to start the second half. Deep shot looking for Robinson, and he makes the grab over Aaron Wolf. Sawyer Thompson pivots around the double team. Ridhaller to Valley. Ridhaller on the sideline now. Valley. Tolfa. 2 goals already tonight. Ridhaller. Valley content to take the easy reset option. Looking for the swing, and it's the second turnover of the point for the Spiders D-line offense. Foster going deep right away, looking for Ronig. And it's blocked by Williams. Max Williams, who was tied for the team lead in blocks coming into tonight's contest, adds another one to his ledger. Robinson with no mark. Valley. Kearns. Valley. Kearns trying to throw Seamus Robinson open. Garrett Martin gets a hand on it. Robinson gets there off the back. Breaking the back and the hearts of Cascades on the field and Cascades fans everywhere.
Seamus Robinson is a player that I didn't see making an impact in the first game between these two teams. And in that play, you can see exactly why he's such an exciting player to watch. This throw from Kearns goes up into the back corner, and Garrett Martin reads it perfectly. There's contact, and then that diving, rolling catch, the second effort from Martin, but Robinson almost picks his pocket and gets the break for Oakland, coming out the first point in this second half.
Yeah, after 11 total turnovers in the first half, we had 5 in that point alone. A sloppier start to the second half as Seattle, with an extremely fatigued O-line, has to put its D-line out there to try and get this hold. Here's Mikey O'Brien working upwind. Ambrose next.
They don't want the upwinders, though.
Lynn can't catch that one because there's a layout block from Oakland going up line, and Ambrose still struggling to find his footing and make an impact against Oakland. And he fouls on the double team there. Free yardage and a free stall count reset for the Spiders. And a timeout taken by Caleb Merriam. He saw the multiple turnovers on the last point and said, all right, let's make sure this is a guaranteed break conversion.
It's interesting because the physicality of this game seems to have changed in the second half. Both teams, I think, aren't necessarily slowing down, and there's a lot of contact running through the mark. I don't think it's necessarily trying to bump or grind, but really both teams, you can see Ambrose trying to help with that double team in that point and just giving away yards. It's interesting to see how the tempo of a game can change when you noted that there were 5 turnovers in that first point. We went 8 points without a turnover in the beginning of the first half, and it's really a momentum changing note when the turnovers come in a pattern like that. And really Seattle hasn't looked like they've responded to that well.
Valley to the cone. Cannot be stopped. Oakland with consecutive breaks to start the second half. And if you're just joining us, this has been a really surprising turn of events as Seattle put together a largely pristine first quarter. They were leading 8-7 after one. Zeppelin Ronig couldn't be stopped. Garrett Martin was on fire too. And since that 8-7 lead, Oakland has gone on a 10-4 run, including 2 breaks here to start the second half.
Okay, you say unprecedented, but we may have been in exactly this position in the last game where Seattle was down and they came back to tie it at 20.
You're right. So do you think Seattle has the 5-goal comeback in them once again?
I don't know. We'll see if it's precedented.
Here's Martin. Looking for Ronig. He goes to the turf to save it. Foster. Had Murad deep, but elected to go with the reset. Wolf. Inside to Tommy Lee. Another crafty inside, that one to Goss. Here's Ronig in the red zone now. Scoobering over the double team, and Ronig finally back on the score sheet, connecting with Tony Goss for Seattle's first score of the second half.
It almost looks like this the Seattle side said, oh, if we're not going to do this, I'm going to try to play this goaltimate type where they go over the top. The Scoobers, they're all attacking that inside lane, which is something that they have to do. They have to change something in order to change the momentum in this game, in order to reinstill themselves with the confidence that they had in the first half. And I think that now this D-line has to be the engine of this Seattle side. They have to keep Oakland on the field for a longer time to give their O-line time to rest, and they really need to spark some change if they're gonna make a comeback.
Well, the third time was the charm there for the Seattle offense, holding after getting broken on the first 2 points of the second half. And here's Frankenberg shooting deep. This one getting away from him a little bit, but it doesn't matter, because Dylan Burns rips that one down past his defender. And the Spiders are in the red zone, and they convert the hold. Another score for Adam Reese.
Just yoinked out of the air. Really good poise there from Burns to get that, and then elects to go backwards, retains possession, giving it to Valley. Valley, who has played both offensive and defensive points for this Oakland side. And then that lefty backhand to Reese. Great play from Oakland.
Eli Kearns getting set to pull once again for Oakland. And disc centered to Derek Murad.
What a beautiful pull right in that back corner.
So Seattle trailing by 5 here, which of course a similar margin that they faced last week as Zeppelin Ronnie goes deep to Tony Goss. They are staring down an 0-2 start to the season after making it to championship weekend as Murad connects with Tommy Lee. And there was some writing on the WatchUFA.com website indicating that no West Division team has started the season 0-2 against divisional opponents and still made the playoffs. And that's not to say Seattle can't come back in this game, but the prospect of them being in that situation, when you think about Oakland will then be 4-0, Colorado looks like a really strong team. Salt Lake looks like a really strong team. It just looks like an incredible uphill battle for this Cascades squad, who then, yes, they have one more game against the Spiders here in the regular season, but the Spiders could lose that and still have the overall season series advantage over Seattle.
We'll see who wins that best of 3 as we're in game 2 right now.
So Spiders attack back out there. Here's Magzig. Skinny window there connecting with Frankenberg past a bidding Mark Munoz. He may have sustained some contact earlier, but he's still throwing his body around. Valley. Here's Magzig. And a little too much excitement there from Frankenberg, who wanted to keep the quick disc movement moving. And he just popped it up a little too far. And a gift from Seattle as Munoz can't connect with Brandon Lee after the D-line offense had a crack at it there. And Valley to the cone once again past Dom Jacobs. Somebody has got to put a body on that man.
It's so hard to, though, because his first steps don't look like he's at speed. It looks like he's resetting, and I think he's catching a lot of defenders flat-footed because then he's accelerating past them. That first step from Valley is deadly, and I think that it's really hard for players who haven't been playing against him much to recognize what's happening.
Don't forget about the other can't-miss games on the UFA docket this weekend, presented by Pabst Light. Our game of the week, the interdivisional rivalry between DC and Carolina on Saturday night. That's the flagship matchup. Evan Lepler and company will have you sorted from Carolina. Jack Brown crossing over to the offense here. Goss finds Murad. Gainer to Ronig. Tommy Lee. And a foul called before Aaron Wolf doinked that swing. Possession will stay with Tommy Lee and the Cascades.
The backhand marks from Oakland are really strong and affecting the reset systems for Seattle.
Ronig to Martin. He's got Jack Brown. And Seattle trying to close the gap once again.
And honestly, that was one of the first break side throws we've seen. The Oakland defenders had done such a good job of pushing Seattle to the far side of the field with that backhand mark and not letting them get that inside break that they like. And it's just one player who gets it finally to that other side, and then Martin takes advantage and throws the flick to the other end zone. But the consistent pressure that Oakland is putting on Seattle right now is really impressive.
All right, so talk to me about the formula here for a Seattle comeback. What do you need to see from the Cascades on this D point and the ensuing D points to make me or any other fans watching this game a believer?
Well, I think I want to see more from Lucas Ambrose. I really want him to get fired up. And I think you got to try something different. The way that you've been defending hasn't worked, so maybe Kelly Johnson and the rest of the Seattle's coaching staff has a zone or something else to throw some tricks in it, but with no wind.
Travel called on, I believe that was Evan Magsig, so he'll maintain possession but have to march the disc back a few yards. And yeah, no goals, no assists, no blocks for the reigning Defensive Player of the Year. Another quiet night after his subpar performance on home turf against the Spiders on Saturday. Grab made there by Wildovsky. Keeps the disc moving to Frankenberg. Reese in space, flips it. Here's Dylan Burns. Reese looking for Valley. Scuba over to Gordon. Not an easy catch into the setting sun. Frankenberg to space. Too far for Gordon. And Mikey O'Brien doinks that under. Shows some frustration.
That's the second time they've had a break chance and then turned it over on the first throw.
Not part of Kelly Johnson's game plan, I can tell you that much. As Adam Reese scores another goal after it was all Zeppelin Ronig in the first half. It's been all Adam Reese since. He has 7 goals to his name tonight.
Although we've seen a little bit, you know, the point total hasn't changed, but we've seen this Oakland offense give up a couple turns, which they didn't really do at all in the first half. It's the Seattle's ability, or it is Seattle's ability going the other direction. That D line trying to go upwind into the sun that's just turned it over, and to earn a turn and then give it back so quickly is shattering.
As a coach, you have to feel that frustration firsthand, huh?
So much, because you see your players working. You have a chance if you're going to make a comeback. We're losing time now in this game in the third quarter, and it's just flittering away from them.
Foster. Over to Goss. A lot of crowding at the front of the stack, and Ronig working against the double team there. Munoz finds Foster. And Curry called for a foul on the mark. Fans not loving that one. Munoz earning the up line. Shooting cross field. And that is Zeppelin Ronig's first goal since the first quarter.
In talking with, as we see a little bit more excitement from that line from Seattle, they had talked about that their ethos this season was about being a brat. not, taking no, say that's our toy, we're going to play with it. And they really haven't played with that energy. They are a team that is full of masterful throwers, and they had a couple of those away turns, and then it looks like they're playing scared until Mark Munoz decided to put that over the top to Ronning, who has been open in the back of the end zone on that break side a couple times and just hasn't been unleashed to in a while. But that's the kind of risk that I think Seattle's going to have to take if they're going to make a comeback. Again, with a great pull.
Leo Gordon with the disc in his hands. 40 seconds left to go in the quarter. Burns. Therese. Back to Burns at midfield with 30 seconds left. Magzig finds Valley. Magzig in the red zone, bluffs the hammer. Opts for it now, hanging up there. Jack Brown applying pressure, but it's caught. The Spiders beat the clock. Saul Wildowski reeling in another score. He had 2 goals and a block against Seattle last week and 3 goals against the Empire in that stunning season opening upset.
What a snatch. Positioning, looking directly into the sun, 2 hands, absolutely sure in the end zone. And that's the confidence that you want your team playing with. And now it really is ball in Seattle's court. They're going to be on 0, but they have 13 seconds to score.
Murad picking up the disc. Finds Goss. Sifo next, 9 seconds left. Here's Murad in power position. Martin on the attacking half of midfield. 3, 2, 1. Nope, the throw does not get off. Aaron Wolf released it. It was blocked anyway, but great job by the Spiders defense getting in the throwing lanes, and not enough clock management and awareness from Seattle with the seconds ticking down in that quarter.
Seamus Robinson had taken the Zeppelin-Ronig matchup and was really forcing him under and playing tight physical defense. And I think that Seattle was maybe a little bit too cued in on Ronig as the receiver in that space and just wasn't willing to get it. They were getting unders. They probably could have scored if they just went 2 more underthrows.
So Oakland with a 5-goal lead here on Friday Night Frisbee, but if last Saturday was any indication, that lead may not be safe. 1 more quarter left to go here from Oakland. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, you're going to hear from Walker Frankenberg and Daniel Rithaler on the Spiders' culture and being a part of a resurgent franchise.
My name is Walker Frankenberg. I'm number 4 on the Oakland Spiders.
I'm Daniel Rithaler. I play for the Oakland Spiders, number 17. I don't think we're a dark horse this season because of the talent we have on our roster.
If you know ball, it's not a surprise that we are one of the front runners in the West or in the league. I think it shouldn't come as a surprise. I think some people are still. We're not.
3 words to describe the Oakland Spiders would be community, grit, and joy.
Those 3 are words that have been a part of the Oakland Spiders. I don't know how many years before I was on the team. They are known as the pillars of the Oakland Spiders. They're kind of what our program has been built around. Community, just being involved in the Oakland community and like trying to build a professional sports team in Oakland. Joy, like we're playing this because we love it, and to spread joy to the rest of the people in the Oakland community. It's a privilege to be able to play on a professional Ultimate Frisbee team and literally get paid to do something that you love. And then grit, that's one that I think a lot of the guys on the team this year really align with. A season is a long time. It takes a lot out of you, and you got to put a lot into it, but you get out of it what you put into it. And if you have that grit and that desire to win and be something great, then that's the only way you're actually going to achieve it, is if you have that fire and that desire. So that's where the grit comes from.
3/4 down, 1 to go here in Oakland as Lucas Ambrose get to score a goal, assist, or tally a block tonight. Releases the pull. And the Spiders offense is back out there. Disc in the hands of Adam Reese. Gordon finds Wildowski.
Downfield contact on Burns. He doesn't care. He's still going deep.
Frankenberg up to Reese. Another connection here between Reese and Gordon. Just unbelievable additions to an O-line that is becoming one of the most efficient units in the league. And just like that, Theo Gordon turns the disc over. Mark Munoz picks up and finds Asher Lance.
It's really hard to be perfect for 4 quarters.
Ambrose. Fouled on the mark. I beg your pardon, I thought that was a foul call. Instead, it was a timeout call from Kelly Johnson, with Seattle smelling potentially its first break of the second half. Of course, Kelly Johnson also in her first season as head coach of the Seattle Cascades. She's been a part of the Cascades coaching staff in an assistant capacity in years past, and of course an accomplished player in her own right, and with plenty of other coaching experience outside the pro scene. And said the transition to the head coaching role has been comfortable this year. The team certainly misses Jesse Bolton. He did so much for the program. He's actually come out and even reffed a few scrimmages for the team, but Kelly's really enjoyed leading the defense and trading notes with Casey Ikeda, who's stepped into a more offensive coordinator role after Johnson had more O-line responsibility last season. Out of the timeout, here's the O-line personnel for Seattle. Aaron Wolf finds Murad. He throws it right away, and on the sideline, inbounds is Tommy Lee.
I said my opinion.
No hesitation on that release from Murad. And Seattle opens the 4th quarter with a break.
The blade, the awareness from Lee, the fact that that is still in, and the trust in the Seattle side when they're playing fun like this with flair, with excitement, that is what you want to see, and that's the first breath of life I've seen from the Seattle squad in a while, and I like it.
Ambrose preparing to pull for Seattle. Is that the spark of a comeback?
Seattle with the pull. We also want to give a quick shout out from Coach to Miles Burnett. Happy birthday, Miles.
Ambrose rolls the pull out of bounds deliberately. Seattle sets a trap zone on the sideline with the double team on the mark. The double team disintegrates, and Oakland happy to lose yardage to save possession. The hammer off the line to Frankenberg, and Reese the next gainer. Valley, marked by Goss, sustains some contact, gets the foul call, and gets to march the disc up 10 yards. And the reset saved by a bidding Magsig. And he's needing some help to get up off the turf and get off the field.
That was a turn. I was about to talk about how there was a turn, and the effort from Magsig to dig that out for Oakland.
Excellent effort there from Magsig, and Rithaller takes his place here on the Spiders O-line. Valley up line, marked by Lance. Two players with Chicago Union history. Reese to Valley. Gordon, back to Valley. Front of the stack, Frankenberg. Bid from O'Brien comes up empty. Valley finds Rithaller, the injury substitution. And Oakland's lead extends to 5 once again.
That's my word.
The speed with which Jason Valley throws almost always takes me aback. He's ready to throw so quickly, and the power that he gets out of this, you can see that backhand just lasering almost behind Rithaller and still retained for that possession.
Check us out at Oakland Spiders. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube.
Valley had 7 assists in the Spiders' victory last Saturday. Now has 3 assists and 4 goals in tonight's contest. Here's Foster. Finds Jack Brown. Marat to Wolf. Ronick. Wolf to Lee. Space for Jack Brown, and the throw goes up. Can he get there? This bid works! That one's got to feel extra special after the injury-inducing effort came up short for him at the end of the first half.
This backhand from Lee sits, and Brown absolutely elevates to snatch that out of the air. It was a thing of beauty.
So 8:42 left to go here in the fourth quarter. The Spiders hanging on to a 4-goal lead. Again, this game was 8-7 Seattle after 1 quarter. And then by halftime, Oakland had taken the reins with a 15-12 advantage. Opened the second half with 2 breaks. And Seattle looking for answers on defense as the Oakland offense works into the upwind direction on this point. O'Brien inches away from a block, but Frankenberg grabs it.
O'Brien is hunting. That's the second one we've seen him close by, and he's really dialing in his defensive pressure.
Burns. Here's Reese. Easy under for Frankenberg there. Gordon. Frankenberg. Valley on the goal line. There's a flip to Leo Gordon, score number 8 for Jason Valley tonight.
They're doing all the things right. They're not having to make huge plays every single offensive possession because they're working up and down the field. They were on the near sideline, and then that flip was almost on the opposite sideline. They're working the full width of the field, and when you have defenders like Mikey O'Brien, who is selling out early in that point to try to get a block, not able to keep up with the multiple throws, multiple cuts that Frankenberg is making. So maybe he didn't get all of them, but by the end, he made it look a little bit too easy.
First goal of the night for Leo Gordon to go along with his 5 assists. And Seattle's looking to find another quick hold. Ambrose crossing over on this point. foul called, and Foster gets to walk the disc up 10 yards.
They can't go deep. Let's make them work.
Liam J on the mark there for Oakland.
Not in.
Martin on the doorstep.
Good mark there from Rosenthal.
And there is the first goal of the night and the season for Lucas Ambrose, the Defensive Player of the Year from 2024, who has yet to really make an impact on this matchup and this rivalry.
And we had a section of turnovers in that third quarter, but it's been very clean here in the fourth. But Seattle needs a break. They have to get a block. They can't just trade this game out and get clean scores all the way through. It's just not enough.
All right, so you're calling the defensive set here. You've got these personnel out here. What do you want from this Seattle D-line on this point, Katie?
I want tight person defense, and I want them to force backhand into this wind because the sun has gone down, the wind is basically there, but so far Oakland is too content.
Asher Lance riding Adam Reese. Knows he fouled him right away. Getting up and conceding the yardage. And, well, we're not seeing the backhand force you wanted.
But it is tight person defense. They aren't in that sagging set to start out this point.
Valley, Burns, Gordon. Kearns crossing over on this upwind point. Oh, Leo Gordon breaks Mark Munoz's ankles.
Again, young players, if you can get that upline reset.
Reset to Valley. Throw to space. Frankenberg all alone. Leading everyone in total yards tonight. Frankenberg with his fourth goal of the contest.
And he had drawn the Ambrose matchup there, and it looked like Lucas double clutched the decision to lay out. You can see maybe in this look where he's looking and thinks about it and just doesn't quite pull the trigger to lay out. And I think that hesitation is maybe for a to give him the credit, might be for a safety reason, but I think is that hesitation is really showing that his mental game has changed. He's not in it this way, but maybe this linchpin is going to have to come from some other player this season from Seattle.
Let's get another one. Let's see if we can get a little more.
Foster over to Goss.
Midway through the fourth.
Ronig. Could he be the guy who sparks another comeback effort? And this deep shot just way too far for Garrett Martin. He's a fast dude, but he can't make up that ground.
And I think that's a testament to the fact that the wind has almost stopped now that the sun has gone down. I think that would have floated 20 minutes ago, but the adjustment just isn't there from Seattle now that the wind has really died down.
It's a great call, and players got to adjust and stay mindful of those little elements of the game, even when you're starting to feel that fatigue. Robinson to Williams.
That's a testament to all of y'all as well. Thank you again for supporting Oakland.
Rithaller. Over to Sawyer Thompson. Inside to Kearns.
On the doorstep. You guys find a reset.
Sawyer Thompson. Back to Kearns.
We got an injury.
An injury call by Tony Goss. He's going to step off the field. Mark Munoz will take his place, and Leo Gordon subbing in for Aiden Curry.
I will have to say that Curry's pulls this evening have been really great. They've really put Seattle back in the end of that end zone over and over again.
Big space there for Sawyer Thompson. Throw to the front of the end zone. It's snagged by Tolfa. Another break goal for Nick Tolfa. And Oakland with its largest lead of the night, extending the margin to 6.
And that break line, again, for Oakland has been perfect. They get one opportunity and they work it all the way down the field. They are putting on a clinic, honestly, in efficiency this evening.
Okay, so I want to know what you think. Is Oakland, for real, are they the West Division front runner to represent that division at championship weekend right now?
Happy to be home, I'm sure. Happy to see all their friends and family. Love them.
The West is just so packed. I really want to see the game against Colorado because I think that that will be the benchmark in the West Division.
That makes two of us, my friend. But you think that's the benchmark? You don't think Salt Lake is going to be involved there? You think maybe they're on a different level?
I think Salt Lake has had a lot of personnel turnover.
True.
And I think it might take them a couple games to get to the efficiency that they had last season. And in this division being this tight, if they don't come right firing out of the gate, they're not going to have it. But Seattle retains possession, but they're down in this, and they're just letting the clock bleed away.
Good spot there from Seattle.
Here's Lee.
But the defense is right
Back
there.
to Munoz.
They want to make Seattle work. Make it work.
Trying to get the disc off the line. Succeeds in doing so. Bertonsen back to Munoz. In a better position in the middle of the field. Negative reset to Ambrose. He gains the yardage right back. Double team here from the Spiders. Munoz throws around it. Plenty of space for Bertonsen. Throw to the cone and going to the turf. And making the grab is Alex Cabot, making his 2025 debut with the Cascades. Third-year pro who played for Sophia University and University of Washington.
And I will note that that's a different O-line than we've seen for Seattle. There was a lot of different personnel on that line. The coaching staff mixing it up, maybe gearing up to put some of those O-line players on defense to try to make a run. We'll see who comes out and lines up here. But with 3.5 minutes left, down 5, there's got to be some heroics. There has to be something going on. We've seen Seattle do it before, but in this division, this game, this early in the season could take them out of playoff contention. They're honestly playing for their season here.
Hard to stay in the moment, but also understand the ramifications all at once when you need peak performance. Here's Valley. Floating one. Is this one going to stay in bounds? Yes! Another incredible grab from Dylan Burns. He's been putting people on posters all night long. And an easy finish there to Leo Gordon.
Oakland is making it look easy, but I just want to highlight the fact that Jason Valley started in the handler space, went to the cutter space. Leo Gordon started in the cutter space, went to a handler space, went to the cutter space. They are forcing the Seattle defense to play all defense, and great defense there from Seattle, but Burns so aware of the sideline, and Gordon trusting that was gonna get caught and putting himself in a position to get the score. 6, up by 6. Oakland Spiders are starting to make a statement.
Murad, the difficult catch made by Munoz. Swing back to Murad, and Seattle's got to score quickly. Feels like time has basically run out for any real shot at a comeback.
But point diff could matter, so they have a lot to play for, honestly, in the West Division.
Here's Ronick. Just one goal here in the second half. a quieter performance relative to his 10-goal outburst last week in Seattle. Credit to the Oakland defense for making adjustments and limiting his impact after the first quarter. Munoz down the line looking for Wolf. Too high.
The Oakland defense is doing something really interesting in the backfield in that they're switching players in really opportune places, and Max Williams is taking that deep shot a lot of times, and Seattle just hasn't found an answer for it.
There's a miscommunication on the counterattack. It looked like Sawyer Thompson might have lost his footing. So here's Murat at midfield, just over a minute remaining now.
Almost a minute to go.
Here's Murat.
Keep it up, defense.
Aaron Wolf. Hammer. Beautiful shot to Christian Foster. And the German gunslinger showing off his bag in the closing stages of Friday Night Frisbee.
I think that Seattle is going to have a lot of things to think about when they rewatch this game. But one thing I would say is that they've transitioned more to this vertical stack offense, but a lot of the cuts under the flat mark and pressure from Oakland are too horizontal. So they're forcing themselves into really difficult angles to catch, and that's a really great team adjustment that Oakland has made against the Seattle side. Sometimes it comes down to preparation in these games, and the team that honestly that has prepared better and that can make in-game adjustments faster is usually the team that wins. And right now, Oakland is executing and adjusting better than Seattle.
Miscue there between Gordon and Valley. Brandon Lee.
Commentator's curse right there.
Finds Ambrose, who continues to Tommy Lynn. And Seattle calls a timeout, its final one of the contest.
Point differential does matter at the end of the season.
Gotta wonder if Kelly Johnson was doing that more out of frustration from its D-line's performance than anything else.
I mean, I think you still have to play. Like I said, you have to play for point diff. You have to play for these
It's fair. That's
moments.
true, too.
And as a coach, if you don't believe that your players can make a comeback, they won't believe it. So what I really respect about what Kelly Johnson is, she does not have quit in her. She continues to fight, and I think that that's one of the things that maybe her players can take from a little bit more is the belief that they can make a comeback a little bit earlier, that they can make those adjustments, because they have to fight for all of these moments. That's what makes a championship team. And right now, the one person who continues to believe that for sure is Kelly Johnson.
Yeah, she talked about earlier this week how it felt like for 3 quarters last Saturday in Seattle, her team played scared and didn't look like themselves, and Tommy Lee thought for sure he got fouled on the goal line there, but no call from the referees with 20 seconds remaining. Lee really wanting an integrity call from Saul Wildowski, but not coming, and Lee coming in to set the mark. Valley, one more completion, back to Wildowski, and that'll do it as the clock runs out. And the Oakland Spiders are 4-0, firmly in first place in the West Division. And the Seattle Cascades have a host of questions to answer about who they are this season and who they can become, having started the season with 2 consecutive losses to a divisional opponent that is on the rise and looking to rewrite the script after Seattle ended Oakland's season in the playoffs last summer.
You know, it's interesting when you talk about that loss, when the Cascades went to championship weekend and the Spiders didn't. There are some games that go in and out of your head as a player and as a team, and there are other ones that seem to make their way into the fabric, the DNA of a team. And I think the Spiders hated losing that game so much that the entire team is focused this year. There is a singularity of purpose in this Oakland Spiders team that I haven't seen in a long time. And it's something really special because most of the players on this team, Eli Kearns being one of the exceptions, have not won a championship. Haven't been to the big game, haven't made championship weekend in a long time, and they are young and they are hungry and they are doing it the right way. They are working it through the entirety of their team.
Well, Seattle's got to find a way to regroup quickly because they're traveling to Vegas and facing off against the Bighorns tomorrow night. Oakland gets to rest up, of course, keep training, but then their next contest is against Seattle right here at Fremont High School in 2 weeks. And a final look at the stats, Katie, just masterful stuff from the Spiders defense, the Spiders deep game, and the Spiders in the red zone.
Yeah, the score was 5, but the difference in turnovers was only 2.
How about that efficiency from the Spiders defense? Thank you so much for joining us here on Friday Night Frisbee. There is more UFA action unfolding live. If you've got a WatchUFA.tv subscription, fire that up and go check in on the Hustle and Growlers. Another UFA matchup unfolding here on the West Coast. For Katie Killebrew, I'm Ian Toner. Thank you so much for joining us here on YouTube and WatchUFA.tv. Don't forget the Game of the Week coming to you live from Carolina tomorrow night. So long from Oakland, and have a great night, everyone.